Hey everyone, my name is Rick Gualtieri, and welcome to another Tales of a Midlist Author. In prior weeks, I've been covering interesting news and I guess some more maybe advanced topics. So I wanted to kind of get back to basics this week, and have a discussion about farming workout. I've seen in some online forums, and not too often, fortunately. I think most people kind of realize that, hey, as a business, you got to do this. But occasionally, I see the attitude pop up, and usually it's among beginner writers of the whole concept that, well, I'm an indie writer. That means independent. That means I do it all myself. And in theory, you could, but that doesn't necessarily mean you should. Um, for example, some people are capable of either taking on, maybe not at all, but taking on multiple different hats, doing them well. The massive majority I find who do that though are kind of fooling themselves. They're like, "Oh, this looks fine. This looks like as good as anything else that's out there." When the reality is, no, obviously you did not really look very closely to it. I know when I was first starting out, especially with paperbacks, I would take my paperbacks and I would hold them against a mass market. And despite the fact that Create Space and stuff, their sizes are never going to match. I think 5 by 8 is about as close you get to mass market. I would open it up and look through it, and it'd be kind of like, at the beginning, I wasn't smart enough to know what the issue was, but I was smart enough to know, okay, these don't look the same. Why? Um, and sometimes I would have a problem explaining just looking at that, realizing things like, okay, kerning, or the justification or stuff. I've since gotten a little bit smarter, but that was always my thing of okay, how do I get it so that my stuff would be sitting on a bookshelf and you would look at it and not instantly be able to tell, oh, this is some kind of amateur work or so. I usually have two rules of thumb with regards to hiring out portions of my process. One, will it save me time on other tasks? That's always important. I mean, if you're hiring out something and it's just going to add more work, that's not necessarily a good thing. And two, can somebody else do it better? And the third part of that is, when I do hire somebody, are they actually doing it better than me? Because that's a big thing. Because if I'm hiring somebody and doing a worse job than I can do on my own, they're probably not going to stay in on my team for too long. I going back to my corporate days, I was pretty much a bastard with regards to this with vendors, but it really came down to, your job is to do this. I'm paying you to do this better than me, and if you're not going to do it better than me, then I'm not going to pay you. So sometimes this requires setting aside your ego to do a full I guess inventory of your strengths and weaknesses. And I don't mean and I mean pulling your head out of your ass, once again, setting your ego to the side, which some people, let's be honest, cannot do. You need to be objective and figure out, okay, what am I doing? What can I do well? What can't I do well? And as I said, ego plays into it. I mean, there are some people, I'll be perfectly honest, who are just not particularly good storytellers. But who insist that they're gonna that they are. It's kind of like watching somebody go on American Idol there, or America's Got Talent, or whatever. I don't watch them, so or at least not anymore. And just watching somebody screech, like a dying moose, and then being like, well, my mother always told me I was great at singing, and it's just the embarrassment there. Um, I know when I first started off this game, when I first put out, my first couple books, it was really a bucket list thing for me. And I stepped back and I said, something, if people read this stuff and hate it, well, it's a bucket list. I kicked it off. I did a book or two. I'll just bow out gracefully, you know? So that was always kind of my thing of setting my ego to the side, because I only want to do something if I can do it well. And it's one thing if you super enjoy writing, you can, nobody's telling you to stop writing, but, in my case, it was kind of like, well, if I can't do it well, I probably shouldn't be maybe cluttering up the aisles with it. Now, that being said, do I do all of it well? Not even remotely. I like to think, I'm decent at storytelling. My dialogue is, a lot of people seem to like it, but I learned early on that, for example, self-editing, I suck at self-editing. Covers, I'm a Photoshop hack. I know my way around it. I mostly make my own ad images a lot of times, but do my covers stand up to a professional's? Not even remotely. So it was kind of like stepping back and being like, one, well, making sure I can afford it, finding like, one people who can do it better than me, and then like, then starting to farm this stuff out. As I said, there's kind of the two things. Will it save me time versus will somebody else do it better than me? And in certain cases, there's the necessity of, yes, in order to maintain being professional, I do need to farm this out because these people can do it better than me. Other things, for example, I still keep in house. I come from a tech background, so I know HTML pretty well. When I format for Kindle or the other stores, I'm going for simple and readable and compatible. I'm not looking for like giant flourishes. I'm not looking for like, graphics all over the place, drop caps and such. I want something that is legible on your screen, that's formatted nicely, and thus, because my personal theory is, after the first couple pages, you should lose yourself in the story and not even noticing notice the fancy flourishes. And as a result, I find I can do that pretty well. I occasionally download other books and I occasionally look at what they're doing. I have tweaked my processes several times over the last couple of years so I can I guess bring it to a point where I'm like, all right, this is, maybe not world-class forming. As I said, some people get really fancy, but is this like, clean, nice, within Amazon's terms of service, and it does provide a good customer experience? And that I'm pretty happy with. Could I save some time farming it out? Maybe. In that case, I don't think so, because I have my Word templates and my other stuff set up at this point where honestly, maybe it takes me all of 10 minutes to transform my book from Word into a nice looking Kindle file. So I'm not really sure that would save me anything. It would just be kind of an added expense. I can deal with that. So that's just an example of something where I'm like, I could farm this out, but I don't, because I feel I do a decent job at it. In other cases, though, once again, going back to editing, I need those eyeballs. I need those beta readers. I need those editors. I need other people looking at it because they see things I don't. For a while, I become too inbred with my own story. So it's stepping back and knowing what I can and can't do. Covers. Mallory is a whiz at Photoshop, and I am not. And that's not even talking about fonts. I love playing with fonts, and I can't make my fonts look even remotely like she can make fonts look. Just trying is almost kind of like I'm just embarrassing myself there. So that's kind of my philosophy of whether or not I do or don't. So let me talk about some things. Give me kind of a checklist of aspects of this business that you can farm out. And I'll also mention whether I do or don't. Editing. Now, I do edit my books. I go through, I've told you guys before, I usually release a novel on the 7th draft. And so I'm going through and I'm refining that. But third-party eyeballs are a part of that. So I do a lot of the editing myself, and I do the final spot check myself. But in between, there are other people looking at it, tearing it apart, giving me suggestions, fixing it, so that I'm not alone. So, yes. Proofreading. Similar to editing, yes. This is my last line of defense is that text to speech, but yes, I do like to have that third party, because here's the thing: as I mentioned in my text to speech, Tales of a Midlist Author, it's not perfect. There are certain things it will not fix, and at the end of the day, you're still dealing with yourself looking at it, even no matter maybe losing focus and stuff. Occasionally, things slip through. So having a third set of eyes is always a good thing to farm out. And also, just somebody reading a story new can see things that me having read the story 50 times at that point, will not. So again, this is not so much to save me time, but somebody else doing it better than me. Ebook formatting, I just mentioned, I kind of keep that in-house. Print formatting, I'm half and half. It depends how fancy I want it. Certain books I've done, I want them to be fancy. If you picked up Midnight's Daughter in print, it is awesome in print. My Bill series, I try to keep pretty simple. That said, I think there are some decent softwares out there, packages that help. I know Vellum is good. That can make pretty professional looking print packages. But in that case, it comes down to learning the software versus not learning the software, and it comes down to, will that save time or not? In my case, well, my Mac just died, so that's not going to help. But in my case, usually once I learn it, it's like, I can turn it into that science thing where it's like, okay, I load it, do it, it's done. So, but print forming is something I kind of do on a case by case basis. Covers. On occasion, I will fudge and I will kind of make my own cover if it's kind of like, maybe, or I'll buy like, maybe a pre-made, if it is something that it's not a major release. Like if something that's going to my email list only, I'm not saying I'm cheaping out on the cover, but sometimes, I just need to slap a cover on something just to have it. In that case, it might not be worth like, spending like, a lot of money for like a full on. But in that case, I try to do my best to make it at least serviceable, workable, not like butt ugly. And trust me, go through the Amazon store. You can see butt ugly pretty quickly. But all my major releases, anything I'm putting out there that I'm charging money for, that has a professional cover on it. I make it a point to to do that because ultimately a cover designer will just do it better than me. So that's a case of, will it save me time? Well, first of all, it will save me time because I love playing in Photoshop and I will lose an entire day in it. But more importantly, they do it better than me. Audio narration. If you've listened to these Tales of Midlist authors, you've probably come to the conclusion that, Rick, you should not be narrating your own ebooks. And I'm well aware of that. So, one, I don't have the proper equipment. Two, I really don't have the proper, I think, voice for it, at least in my opinion. So it makes a lot more sense to hire a professional. But again, I want somebody who's doing it better than myself. So they won't save me time necessarily because, hey, if I did it myself, it'd be faster and cheaper. But would it be better? No. I'm pretty sure about that. Audiobook proofing. That's another thing you could farm out. I am debating that in the future, although in the past I've farmed it out and it hasn't really worked out too well for me. But I think that's just a case of not maybe finding the right person. I'm not a fan of audiobook proofing only because by that point I'm sick of my own story, and I don't really listen to audiobooks. But right now I do it myself. But I do realize, but as soon as I can find somebody to do it better than me, because that will save time, I would love to farm that out. And some of my books, which are done via Tantor, they do the proofing for me, so which is a godsend. And it's just a case of, like I said, by that point, I've read the story so many times, I'm like, I don't want to go through it again. All right. Account management. I am not a big fan of farming this out, but others do because they're maybe not technical. Maybe they don't, maybe learning Draft to Digital, maybe learning KDP is just beyond their skills. They're not good with computers. So in certain cases, people will farm that out. I'm not a big fan of handing that over because that really is handing the keys to the kingdom, but I can understand that. But that is some aspect that you could potentially farm out. Although in that case, I would probably rather go with like maybe a small, a smaller mid-sized publisher rather than just like, handing an individual the keys to the kingdom, because that, I think that just strikes me as a little safer. Just my 2 cents. But in that case, you are getting a publisher. That is, in that case, the whole point of getting a publisher is that, will it save you time? And hopefully. And will they do it better than you? Again, hopefully. And if they're not, then hopefully you have out clauses to get your stuff back. Oh, and finally, managing your advertising. Oh, this is a big one because a lot of indies, and probably myself included, hate going into their advertising dashboards on a daily basis and playing around and doing all this stuff and and realizing that, hey, I lost a lot of money yesterday and I got no sales out of it. And the problem being that there's, I think, only a few places and a few individuals out there who are going to do it well and not charge you out the nose for it, because managing advertising is kind of big business. And if you can find one of those people, hey, that is great. Hold on to them with everything you have. But if you can't, well, sometimes it can be difficult if you don't have a lot of money out there. But that is one area you can potentially farm out. And if you can find somebody who can do it better than you at a reasonable cost, more power to you. So, but for right now, I do all my own advertising and such. I try to learn, I try to educate myself and get smarter about it. But at the moment, I do my own advertising, whether that's for good or for bad. Although, honestly, if I could find somebody who could do it, better, whose client list wasn't fully booked up, crazily, and I could just be like, okay, well, I'll pay you a reasonable amount to to do this for me. And again, I'm not saying cheap. I'm saying reasonable, because a lot of big businesses are going to be like, well, hey, do you have $100,000 budget? No. Well, then we don't want to talk to you. Um, so, you know, somewhere between, like, that and zero, but not being gouged, but also producing results. So that's kind of what I consider reasonable. Um, Not cheaping out, because here's the thing: sometimes you get what you pay for, and that brings probably me to the that last part is when you farm out, protect yourself. Pay via PayPal, however, so you have those protections. If you get a contract in place, know your rights, read through that contract, possibly have a lawyer read through that contract if need be, but at least you read through it and understand that contract. And, and remember, sometimes you get what you pay for. Just because you can hire somebody off of Fiverr to edit your book doesn't mean they will do a good job at it. Doesn't mean they'll do a bad job, but it doesn't mean they'll do a good job. Just saying, well, it was professionally, edited, and I can't believe I still found typos. Well, you paid $20 for 100,000, book edit. Maybe they didn't really do a good job. So those are my thoughts. Again, will it save me time? And is somebody else going to do it better than me? Those are my two, key priorities with regards to hiring vendors, and whether or not I keep paying those vendors. It's like, are they saving me the time? Yes. And are they doing it better than me? And I will say that number two is a must. Even if they are saving me a ton of time, they still better be doing it better than me, because, otherwise, once again, why am I not finding somebody else? So, but that's up to you as the business owner to manage your to one, know your own strengths and weaknesses, and to manage your vendors wisely. So hopefully this was useful to you. Once again, being an independent author doesn't mean you have to or even should do it all yourself. All right, my name is Rick Gualtieri. This is Tales of a Midlist Author, and I hope you're enjoying the series. If so, give it a thumbs up, a like, tell your friends. That's even better. And I hope to talk to you again really soon.